Hello, Avi. This is just an initial response to the things that you've said concerning my comments about what pleases God and the relationship of that and our own relationship with Jesus Christ. The reason for this is that I'm actually going away to a conference where I'm teaching puppetry and various skills surrounding that particular art form. But let me say that first of all, how much I appreciate the tone and the sensitivity of your response. And oh, if only everybody on YouTube had the same attitude, it would be a much happier place. But you've made a number of serious points, and I felt that just in this initial response, if I could say where I'm coming from on this whole issue of, as you say, suggesting that I take it upon myself to speak for God. I can understand how how somebody can get that impression, but I suppose it's not so much speaking for God, but rather saying this is the conclusion that I've come to from reading the Bible, and particularly the New Testament. I think that after I put the video up, I thought I've been too prescriptive. I mean, to say that this pleases God and to give just the two examples is obviously very limiting on a limitless God. And there are many things that please God, and you can find those, from my perspective anyway, those come out in the Bible. But I was thinking of the core issue concerning Jesus. And where I would like to leave it at the moment, in no way to ignore all the other things that you've said and that I want to address, but I really just haven't got the time to do it at this moment. But that is to say that one of the key teachings of the New Testament is the exclusiveness of the revelation that God gave to man through Jesus Christ. Now, this is not my opinion. This is not what I'm saying. This is what the Bible actually says, that there is no other name by which men may be saved but Jesus. Now, why that is necessary comes from a long-established doctrine of original sin. And that simply being that because ultimately all of us would actually source our ancestry through, or back to Adam and Eve in biblical terms, and they chose to sin, and that sin is within us. And the story of the Bible throughout the Old Testament is the way in which we continually tend to make right and wrong choices, and more often than not wrong choices. And that because God is perfect, God is described as this incredibly bright light. Now, we're used now with modern technology to understanding how concentrated light can form a laser beam, and that can cut through steel in the right concentration. And it can perform delicate acts of surgery upon human tissue. So we're used to that concept. Now, if we can just conceive that in the Bible God is pictured as being light, the fact is that anything that is unclean, now I've just said a word there that I accept is you would find difficult, which is the fact is. The fact is, from reading the Bible, that one says that, okay, if this is true, then what it's saying is that this brightness of God, this light of God, He is, the Bible says, a burning fire that as we move towards him, we can only stand before him, according to the Bible, if we're pure. And the only way we can be pure is by taking on the righteousness of somebody who is perfect, because we ourselves are not perfect. And that is the whole concept of Jesus becoming our righteousness, as we accept his death for us in our place for the wrong things that we have done. So that's my baseline. That's where I'm coming from, and why I believe that is really another part of the story, which really deserves more attention I can give it in this short video, and I will address that. So when I return from my conference, Avi, I shall sit down and I shall look at your video again, and I shall try and echo the other points. In the meantime, while I'm away, please do feel free to come back in video or writing, because I think underlying it, and underlying the reason why somebody like myself will perhaps even say more than we intended, or more than you may say reason would allow us to say, is because we do feel that we have this personal relationship with God, and it's very exciting, and it's sort of sometimes our zealousness overtakes our capacity to think about consequences and other things. So your response is welcome, and thank you very much, and I hope I've answered in a little part where I'm coming from, so that when I come back and address the rest of the issues, you'll know what is actually the motive or the underlying understanding that I think I have, which actually forms those views. And yes, and just one final thing I suppose I ought to say is, it may sound disrespectful to say that people put God in a box, that their religious trappings are not what he wants, etc., etc. And I think that attitude, that means the attitude that I have of being unsympathetic with such behaviour, is because I believe that Jesus came and died and rose again to rid us of the necessity for all those things. So that in that sort of behaviour I tend to sense, if you like, the deception. Not necessarily a deception that is intended, but one that is there nonetheless. Because it deceives people into thinking that a formulaic way of living is going to satisfy God, when he set out a very different path indeed from that. I'll leave it there, otherwise I will ramble on and on. I don't want to do that. Thank you, Alfie, and until, as it were, we communicate again. But thank you very much for your response.